Hello everyone. In this lesson we're going to learn how to search in Laravel. Let's dive into the action and let me explain what I mean by, quote, search. So if you visit your profile, we've already learned how to sort of query, for only blog posts from a specific author. But that's not really searching. That's more like filtering. So a search would be like if we wanted to say, show us all blog posts that contain the word Brad, right? And we're not just saying, if we look at the database really quick, and I look at my post title, we're not saying, only show us posts where the entire value for this title column is literally nothing but the word Brad. We're trying to say if the value in there, if at any point it contains the word Brad inside it. That's what we mean by search. Now, there are many different ways to accomplish this. First, in this video, I want to show you the most basic approach, but then after that, I want to show you the official Laravel way of searching like that. Now, before we get into any kind of specifics, let's first just go set up a URL route like this, to where it would be your homepage domain, and then /search/ and then whatever search term you want to search for. Right, so this final segment would be variable, dynamic. So to set that up, let's just go into our routes file. So in the routes folder, web.php. Let's find the area where it says, blog post related routes. Let's create a brand new route. So route : it would be a GET request. Let's say quotes /search/ and then curly brackets, and let's just call it term. Again, there's nothing special about this. I'm just making this up, but I think it makes sense in this case. Anyways, be sure to have that wrapped in curly brackets so that it's acting as the variable. Cool, then we would just say, comma, square brackets, post controller, : class, comma, and let's make up a method name on the controller. Let's just call it search. So let's save this, and now let's jump into our post controller. So post controller, search for that, and let's just create a brand new method. So maybe up at the top here, within the class, but right above our function named actually update. The order doesn't matter, just anywhere in the class. I'll say public function search parentheses curly brackets. In these parentheses, let's be sure to have a matching parameter. So $term. Okay, and now we would just want to ask our post model to give us posts that include this phrase, whatever the incoming phrase is. Now, I'm going to paste in a bit of code, and we're not going to write it character by character because this is not the official Laravel way that I actually want to recommend. So please do not feel the need to pause the video and type this in. This is just a quick and dirty basic example of how you could perform a search. So this is not the most efficient or powerful, or performant way of doing things. I will leave this line commented out in the source code files, the downloadable zip for this lesson. So if you're interested in finding this code, if you want to use it for a simple website that's not going to get basically any traffic, you could. But essentially, let me save this really quick. And again, you don't need to follow along with this part. But if I go and now, visit the GET request for /search/Brad, and I'll actually visit that same URL in Firefox. And cool, you can see that returned 3 posts because they contain the word Brad in their title. Or I could search for the word dog. Cool, so we see yet another dog post. Being a dog is great, so on and so forth. So this is just raw JSON. So this approach works, but there are a few problems with it, and this is not the official way that I'm going to recommend. The problem with this approach is that this is too MySQL specific. If your database was using Postgres instead of MySQL, this might not give you the exact same results. It might not be case insensitive like MySQL is going to be. And also, this type of query where you use the like operator in MySQL, this is wildly inefficient and slow for a large database compared to a solution that's built from the ground up for search engine situations like this. So you could absolutely use this code for a small website with a small database that's not going to get much traffic. However, right now I want to show you a different approach. I want to show you the official Laravel way of adding search functionality to your app. So it involves something called Laravel Scout. What is Scout? Scout is the official search solution or package created by Laravel. Now, it's actually not included with Laravel out of the box. We need to go use Composer to pull in Scout. So do this with me. In your command line, type this out. Say Composer require, and the name of the package that we want is Laravel/Scout. Go ahead and press enter. Okay, now we do want to tell Laravel that we're actually trying to use Scout. So type this in. PHP, actually let me clear the screen so it's higher up on the screen. But type this command in with me. PHP artisan vendor :publish, a space, and then -- provider equals, no space, just quotes, Laravel, and then not a / but a \, Scout / Scout service provider, end quote. If you need to pause the video to type this in, let me hide the sidebar so this fits more on one line. And there, I zoomed out. If you need to pause the video so you can type in this exact command with me, that's okay. But let me go ahead and press enter. Cool. And now we just need to go into any model that we want to be searchable, or that we want to, leverage the power of Laravel Scout, the official Laravel search solution. In our case, the only thing we need to search is the post model. So I would just open up our post.php model file. And here's what we need to do. Within the class where we see use has factory, maybe just right above that line, but still in the class, let's add a line and say use searchable. Semicolon, and now we do need to import this. So if you just right click on uppercase searchable, click import class. Beautiful, you can see that automatically pulled this in for us. Use Laravel Scout searchable. Cool, we just need to do one more thing to this model file before we can go actually easily search through our blog posts. We need to add a new function to our class. So maybe right above our function that's named user, so right here I would say public function, and it needs to have this exact name. So I am not making up this name. The name matters. It needs to be exactly toSearchable array, parentheses, curly brackets. Now, in this function, we just return, and then square brackets, an array, semicolon, and we just sort of spell out what on this, this database row should be searchable, right? What are we searching through? We don't need to search through every single column. We just need to search through, and you could put one on each line. So title, associative array, and then just $ this, look inside it for title, comma, quotes body, associative array symbol, $ this, look inside it for body. So those are the only two columns that we need to search through, right? For whatever term the user or visitor is searching for. At this point, we can save this file. And now we're done with our model for now, but before we actually go leverage this back in our post controller, right, before we replace this really basic way with the official Laravel way, we first want to go into our env file. So if you open up your sidebar, you look through all of the files, you'll see that there's a hidden file named .env. I need you to go into the .env file, and it doesn't matter where, so you could add a new line here, or you could go all the way down to the very, very bottom. I'll just go down to the bottom, and we need to add a property of, and it's all uppercase, scout_driver equals, and just put it to database. So what's nice about using the official Laravel Scout search solution is that right now we can just start with the database driver, but if you were going to have a really popular website that gets tons of traffic, tons of search requests, and your database of blog posts was going to be absolutely huge, well, for a more powerful solution that's way faster, you could easily plug in a different Scout driver here, like Algolia or Melee Search, or I think it's pronounced Melee Search. But anyways, the idea is that you can switch this out for a different driver, a more powerful driver in the future. But that's it. You just switch out the driver. You don't have to change any of the actual syntax. Let me explain. So go ahead and save that file. And now, if you go into your post controller, in our search function, this is where I want you to actually follow along in our search method here. So let's empty out the body of this search function and type this out with me. So let's make up a name. Let's just make up, $posts equals. We're going to use our post model. And now this is the cool part, : because we added Laravel Scout and we said that our post model was searchable, we automatically get access to this awesome function of search right on the post model. So semicolon. And now all we do is in these parentheses, we give it the search term that we're looking for. So that's just the incoming, $term. And then at the end of that, just say, look inside that and call the get method. And then on a new line, let's just return $posts. Let's save this and test it out. So if I refresh this same search URL, or actually let me view it in Firefox. Cool, we see being a dog is great, yet another dog post. If I search for the word Brad, another Brad post, this is a Brad post, fourth post by Brad, cool. However, if I searched for the word, lorem, as in lorem ipsum, that's going to be in a whole bunch of blog posts because I've included that in the body content for a bunch. Cool. Now, before we move on, I do want to point out this is why Laravel Scout is so amazing, because even if you went into your .env file and you wanted to use a different Scout driver, for example, like Algolia or Mealy Search, because you wanted the absolute best performance, right? Maybe you were getting tons of traffic and your database was huge. You wanted the most performant possible solution. You can just set up or swap in a different driver here, and you don't need to change a single character in this syntax. So now we just have this one universal search syntax powered by Laravel Scout, and it doesn't matter which Scout driver you're using. Awesome. Now, really quick, I do want to point something out. And if you look at this raw JSON that we're returning, you'll actually notice that there's something crucial missing for each post. And that is that we have the user ID, but we don't have their username and their avatar. In other words, we're missing all data from the users table. We're quite literally only getting values from the blog post table. Now, you might be confused. You might be saying, but didn't we edit our blog post model to say that, it should have that function called user? And shouldn't it automatically include that? Well, yes, in most situations, Laravel will. But in situations like this, where we're just returning raw JSON, we do need to spell out a little bit to explain that we do want that data from the user table. So because we're just returning raw JSON, we do need to go the extra mile, and let's do this. In between these two lines, so before we actually return $posts, let's just add a line and say, $posts, look inside it and call a method of load. In these parentheses, give it a quote, and then let's say, on the user model, right, the user for this blog post, and then colon, we want their ID, comma, we want their username, comma, we want their avatar. So now with this in place, if we hit save and we refresh the raw JSON endpoint, beautiful. You can see each post has this user object, and inside it, it has their ID, username, and avatar. Cool. And at this point, we have this URL where you can send a GET request and search for whatever term you want to search for. And this means that we're ready for the next lesson where we connect the dots between just this raw JSON output and, if we go back to our homepage, client-side JavaScript that can send the perfect request, right, to the perfect URL for whatever the user's actually typing in to the input, the search field. And then we can show them live results after every keystroke for what they're searching for, right? And it's going to be as simple as just sending a request to the correct URL. I think this will be really fun to set up. It's going to really make our website feel like it's coming to life. Let's keep our momentum rolling, and I will see you in the next lesson.